Welcome, sexy Wookiees, welcome back, sexy Wookiees, to another episode of the Sexy Wookiee Squadron. We're reading another brand new book, Heir to
An
the
old
Empire.
brand new book.
An old brand new book, Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn.
Yeah.
I think we left off with Timothy. Was that? I can't remember.
I don't think
We should have.
Oh.
I'll redo it again.
Before for Thrawn, but now we're reading OG Thrawn.
That's
We're reading.
right.
So yeah, we left off with Thrawn and we're coming back with Thrawn. So it's like we've never left. But let's see here. I can't even remember what to do anymore.
It's your boy.
Yeah, no, we're back. Just exactly like old times. It's your boy, Sexy Leader.
Hey, it's your girl, Sexy One.
Hey, it's your simp, Sexy too.
Let's get into it.
Let's go.
So we read chapters 1 through 5. And
right.
I'm gonna make a quick note that I decided to splurge, not even splurge, it was like an extra $10 compared to the regular. So I splurged and spent $20 on this godsend. It's
Brilliant.
a 20th anniversary edition, and it comes with notes by Timothy Zahn, his editor Betsy, and it is just such a trip. It is so much fun to like see inside the mindset and behind the scenes while he's writing, and it's like reading 2 books in one, and it's really cool.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to pick up a copy of that because having read this book before, to get to read it with the editor's notes and the author's notes would just be like a whole new level. That sounds really cool.
I highly recommend it. I've never read the book before and I'm already loving it. So for all the OG fans, the Legends fans, and especially Timothy Zahn fans, buy the book.
The anniversary edition.
Yes, do the anniversary edition. It is a million times worth it. It is just so cool. So cool.
So cool. So guys, we are back to the Legends. This was the old days. Now you're gonna understand what it was like for me growing up, and that this was the continuation of the story. This was all your favorite characters and where they ended up after the movies. Kind of just the state of the galaxy at this point. And this is what we knew. This is the version of the characters that we knew before the prequels, before anything else. And so this, when you hear us old people talk about the dark days when all we had was the novels, this is what we're talking about. And it wasn't quite so dark because these are great books. So hopefully you get to see it. It's so nice to read a book about Luke, Leia, and Han, which even in book club we haven't done a lot of. We've had a lot of tertiary characters, but the big 3, like,
Finally,
it's so cool. And then throwing in a lot of the tertiary characters that we are familiar with from some of the other books. It's like, oh my gosh, it's you and you and you and you. Like, so exciting. And the world building in this is spectacular. And this is the version of Thrawn that I couldn't wait for you to get to know. And it'll be so interesting to hear the perspective now that you've got the new Zahn Thrawn, Rebels Thrawn, and then the OG Thrawn to compare.
We'll definitely be talking about that at the end.
I figure as much. So, Jasmine, kick it off.
Oh my gosh, this book is so good. When I was reading one of the chapters last night, I was just screaming. My poor boyfriend's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "They said this character. Oh my god, this character is here!" And I just lost my absolute mind. So...
Can I skip ahead to when they introduced Phalia and they're going on about the Bothans again? And I freaking yelled. I was like, "Blame it on the Bothans!"
We will talk about the Bothans for sure. For sure.
I was so excited to see that.
Finally, we could blame the Bothans again. I miss doing that at work.
Always up to trouble, those guys. I was like, this guy.
Something. But this book proved it, so.
All right, guys.
What do you got for chapter 1?
First question?
Yeah.
So since these are more Imperial heavy, I figured these would be more your thoughts on like how everything is kind of run.
Fair enough.
So for a first question, after the Battle of Endor, would you stick with the remnants of the Empire or would you move on? I'm curious. I know we're rebels at heart, but if we happen to be working on the Empire side and then boom, second Death Star destroyed and slowly New Republic taking over, would you want to stick around for that? Would you join New Republic? Would you just do your own thing?
I think because I identify heavily with Captain Paleon, because I'm just like, it's like being me in the Star Wars community right now, where you're just this like, oh gee, you remember the good old days, and these young whippersnappers that are all coming up now have no idea what it was like, and you're just feeling old and misunderstood, but you don't know anything else, so you stick with it. Like
back in my day, we didn't have these new movies, Megan.
I'm like, oh, this guy, he's like trying to run a tight ship and have like that old Imperial feel, and these kids just don't get it. But I think so. If I'm putting myself in his shoes, which I tend to do in this book, this is your career. What is he, like 50 years in the service? He was there at that battle, and just because it went poorly, and this upstart terrorist group, the rebellion, has won a huge victory, that doesn't mean the war is lost. Like, the Empire still controls huge portions of the galaxy, and you've still got your warlords and your grand admirals, and I mean, you've got your Star Destroyer, and you know a few others, and like, you guys are gonna fight back. Like, you're not just gonna roll over. Like, you're not gonna let them take this easy. You still are holding on to some control in this galaxy. It's not like these new movies, the sequels, where it's like, oh, they won one battle, so now they control the whole galaxy and like nobody questions it. No, like that's not how this works. Like there's still a struggle and a fight for territory and a fight to establish the new government, and it's not going to be easy. So I think if I was a dedicated Imperial that was like a true believer and had been through all those battles after Endor, I'd still be like, oh no, like, we're striking back again. Like, you're not taking the galaxy this easy, rebellion. New Republic, please.
I was trying to think of a synonym for Empire. Well, strikes back, strike, and revenge.
Strikes back.
Strikes back.
So,
Revenge
exactly.
of the Empire.
Back. EBB. Yeah. Okay. Leave it at that. Yeah, that's where my mind goes when I'm listening to these things. Being heavy rebellion on this side, I kind of did forecast that this question was going to come out like that. So good thing it did, because I was like, yeah, I was thinking when I was reading it, like, would you have stayed, like, when Thrawn was really telling him, like you were at that battle, and that's why the screen I have is the screen I have in the back, right?
It's like exactly our answers. I'm like, no, I'm still maintaining a up-to-date ship. So help me.
I mean, okay, I'm gonna do it. I was gonna go with the Empire version of my answer. I'm gonna go with my Rebel version of my Empire. I enjoyed Return of the Jedi so much that if there was gonna be a post for the New Republic, I would stay on Endor. So you could say, like, if the Empire was gonna be in full retreat, which they were, then yes, I would either just became how do we call the citizens of the galaxy? Is there a term for that? Do we use that?
Just like a normal citizen?
Just as like, I don't know, how did they say it at the place? Galaxy's Edge. How does it say it there?
Citizens of the Republic, or
no, just a
citizen.
regular normal citizen. Okay,
Yeah,
so
just a
okay.
citizen.
So you'd
citizen of the
retired
galaxy.
from
Yeah, I would
service.
retire. But like, I would also, if I was on the other side, if I was on the Empire side,
right?
There's some meaning to losing as well. And yeah, it's, even though it'd be empty just like this in the background, Yeah, I'd probably just keep my post and
Go
live
down with the ship.
hopefully live a peaceful life. Yeah, and then just go down with the ship.
Okay.
What about you?
That's kind of hard because, I mean, I did try to put myself in their perspective because, just such a rebel at heart. But if I had put in that much years of service, I would really have to question, is it worth it to hang in when we keep shrinking more and more? And so if I gotta be on Thrawn's ship and I gotta be with my blueberry boyfriend,
Okay, well that's a whole different
yeah,
qualifier.
I'd stay just for, I would clean his
You
shoes if that's
defect
what it
from the
took. I don't care.
rebels to join Thrawn's crew.
Yeah, probably.
Like,
I love
no
him
doubt.
so much.
Oh my gosh.
But if he's not around, I would either just retire, become, I don't know, open up a zoo or something, or probably go join the rebels. I'll be like, you know what? You guys probably
Okay.
have a point. If you could take out 2 Death Star leadership, do all that, it's you probably have a strong enough message that you're fighting for, and that would pique my interest.
Interesting.
I'm trying to get Thrawn to come with me. And if he won't come with me to Rebel side, then we'll just open up a zoo together. It's fine.
What's the name of the okay, there's a store in Batu, and there's a term for it. It's not zoologist because they wouldn't use that. Oh man, all my terms. I'm not ready for my terms.
They called it like.
Shoot. No, there's something towards it. But hey, we'll look for that later. That's a side note. My
side note.
Yeah, my brain is going everywhere today.
Just
with these
making
things.
up words. It's fine.
Yeah, side note. We'll check that later. Zoologist.
Yeah.
I know there's one.
I don't know about zoologists, but we just opened a zoo together, and it'll have like a little art museum because he likes art, and I have to keep him happy. So
cool beans.
I'm just simping so hard.
I think the zoo is the nickname that the doctors have for Coruscant General in MedStar.
Is it really?
Or the training hospital that they go to, because there's so many different species that they have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So they call it the zoo. I think that's.
Damn!
Oh my god, that is.
If that is.
Hilarious.
Yeah, if we ever get to read about Yuli again.
God, we better. We need to. We need to. All right, ready for the next one?
Yeah, what's next?
All right, so we all know what Vader is like. He's menacing, he's scary. Don't mess up around him, or it will cost you a hand or your life. So, prior to obviously the Battle of Endor, would you have worked on Vader's ship if it meant you got better and faster promotions? Or would you not take the risk and just work elsewhere in the Empire?
Ooh.
Because I feel like there's plenty of pros and cons for both.
I probably wouldn't want to, but the way my life goes, I would end up there, because that's how it always happens. Like the scariest, most intimidating, like celebrity or boss, I always end up assigned to them and having to work very closely, and then being terrified all the time, and like everyone around you is getting killed and fired, and so you're moving up the ranks, you're just wondering when it's your turn, like when am I going to screw up?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, knowing my luck, I'd probably end up on his ship, but I would kill it. Like I would do the best job that I could until I got strangled, and then I'd be like, I wish I just laid low and worked in the mailroom on the Chimera or something. So yeah, unfortunately, I think I would have ended up there.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Sounds like a short life. But I am not going with that answer. I immediately thought, I don't want that short life. No way. And brave admirals and guys who were up in the and women that were up in the Empire, like, dude, brave, because if you ever cross that path, you know it was over. So yeah, I'm not gonna go that route.
Remember that one guy who was like, "I'll take responsibility for this," and inform Lord
Mhm.
Vader.
Oh
Mhm.
no.
And then
I
the
don't
next
ever
time
wanna
you
have to
see
say
him,
that.
he's all and he falls over, and you're like, "Oh, why
I
did
don't
you?"
ever want to have to say that. But I think he was not only the bravest, the you know, that commander, I don't know. He was high up there. For him to say that, you know, not all the other ones did that, right?
Oh yeah.
So, you know, shout outs to that one. We got to find his name. But no, I would
Brave is a
definitely
nice
work.
word for stupid.
Yeah, I can't remember. Apology
You know you're
accepted,
dead.
Admiral.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh.
No, yeah. So I'm gonna take a job that's somewhere mechanics in
So
the
just
Empire
not on Vader anywhere but Vader's ship.
where I do not have
You're
to.
gonna get assigned to his TIE fighter. You're gonna be the mechanic
Oh,
to
that'd be
Vader's
cool, though.
personal, and you're like, no.
That'd be cool though. Hey, you forgot to
Screw
refuel.
up.
I'll be like, TK, you forgot to refuel. Well,
And you
or
did.
TI. TI, you forgot to refuel. Well,
Oh,
whoopsie daisy.
nice knowing you.
Oh,
Time
there
to
he
join
goes
the
off the
rebellion.
airlock.
Time to join
Hit
the
him with
rebellion.
that. Whoosh.
Pretty much. Jasmine, what about you? Are you that
That's-
ambitious?
I am ambitious, but at the same time, I don't know if I would do that. And I don't know if Vader would actually want me on his ship because in real life, I can be kind of annoying. So I feel like I would just
No.
irritate him so much. He'd either like promote me fast enough to get off his ship or that he just won't even give me a chance. But I'm gonna bet that he's just gonna be like, I kind of want her gone. Just give her the rank of admiral or something, get her out, and I'll
Yeah,
be like,
he'd
sweet.
Assign you to like someone he doesn't like.
I don't know. I feel like something like that would happen. I'm very ambitious. I'd be terrified to be around him because I mean, who wouldn't be? But
I'm just gonna say right now, you're really gonna like Mara Jade.
God, I screamed when I heard her name. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
When you
I
get
feel
to read
like-
her story, I'm just calling it right now.
I feel like I could work in his ship, but then you guys know I also use like a lot of humor, especially dark humor, if I'm like nervous or if I'm going through it. So I feel like he's gonna hear so many like stupid jokes and he's gonna be like, oh my god.
You're
wow.
basically Dr. Aphra in the comics.
Yeah. I feel like I might just kind of be her and he's gonna be like, oh my god, she's so annoying.
Yeah, like, oh please
Send
no.
her on a mission with my
Hey,
son.
Get out of here.
Here's a new rank bar. Leave my ship. You're too good for this. And I'll be like, bye.
Okay, bye.
I'll be like, cool. Now I'm gonna retire with a better pension and open up my Zubatron.
It's all coming
That
together.
works. That works.
All right, one more Imperial question.
One more Imperial.
Because there was just like so much thought with just the first chapter, like just got me really thinking and really.
Oh yeah, it's
curious.
great world building and establishing kind of the state of things after the war. And what is this, 5 years later? So this is kind of after the events of all the X-Wing books that we were reading and this whole trying to the struggle over the territories and taking back worlds and establishing the new government. So I just, yeah, I love kind of digging into people's mindset at this point.
Oh yeah, it's fun. That's why I was like, oh, I got some good questions for us. All right, so they were talking about, leading by fear, but how Thrawn leads by loyalty. So I'm curious on what you guys think, because I feel like we're probably going to have different answers, or even if they're the same, our reasoning might be different. Is a commanding officer leader worth following if they rule by fear or loyalty, and why? What would you personally rather follow? Someone who has the loyalty by fear, or someone who has genuine loyalty?
Okay.
Interesting.
Good question.
I've definitely worked under leadership in both kind of cases, and there's a certain level of perfection you'll do when you're more scared of the results, but then there's a quality of work that you will do and go above and beyond when you're actually truly loyal to your leader. And so as a cadet or whatever, a member of the crew, it's a little bit more dangerous for you if you're loyal to the person, because you're going to go above and beyond. You're going to do anything. You're going to work yourself crazy because you really want to, and you're going to wear yourself out. Whereas fear, you're just going to do what you were supposed to do, stay in your lane, and don't take chances. So it's a little bit safer. So I don't know. It's like, it's a trade-off. I would prefer to work for somebody that has true loyalty, only because the motivation makes it easier to do the work. I would say, if I had to choose.
Yeah, loyalty is it's probably the easier, not easier. It's never easy. But loyalty has less of the stress that fear does. Yeah, the same. I've worked with leadership that both has, that operates with fear and then also operates with loyalty. And so far, loyalty, wins this this survey, because loyalty is less stressful. When I operated under the fear, yes, I was operating like, you do tend to operate with a sense of urgency, and then there is also efficiency in both and all that. But with fear also gave me ulcers. So I used to also say, so I'm not gonna say the job, but like,
Okay.
that with the person who did operate under fear, like I always, came into work saying like, oh, it's about to have an ulcer. And I feel like these are, again, those admirals and those generals, that lieutenants that, that worked under Vader or Thrawn, that, had that fear. Yeah, they probably had ulcers, man. So it's better off they did die short dead. I'm
They were
sorry, but
doomed one way or another.
either
Life
way,
of
but
pain.
yeah, so loyalty all the way, I would say.
I have to agree. At my job, we have different supervisors depending on what time you work. And there's definitely a few that I'm very loyal to, and a few where I will do the bare minimum because they suck and they try to lead by fear. And I'm like, absolutely not. Some of them I am genuinely afraid of, that they will just find a way to take my job. So I definitely 100% would rather follow someone that genuinely wants loyalty, because I feel like even though I would try to beyond, like Megan said, it would not stress me out, because I know no matter the end result, if I can't go farther, I'm not gonna get in trouble. I'm still, they're still gonna say, hey, thank you for at least trying, versus, if I'm scared and I just do the bare minimum, they're like, well, you should probably just do more. I think that would be stressful. Or if they're like, oh, you should try going above and beyond, and I'm like, what's the point? Either way, I'm not gonna do it good enough.
That's
So
true.
I think I'd rather do by loyalty, because I'll put in better work and I'll feel comfortable putting in that better work. It's not going to be so stressful. And if it was really stressful and it was someone that, was a good enough leader that I could go say, hey, I think we should try doing it this way or that way instead. Let me test it. If it doesn't work, I'll take the blame. That's fine. But definitely, if it's by loyalty, you'll get a lot better work and a lot less stress.
Very good. Good old Thrawn. You just want to work for Thrawn. We know it comes down to that.
If he needs assistant, a footstool, whatever, a bodyguard, a wife.
How much did you miss Eli watching Thrawn and Paleon pal around and do stuff together?
Eli so much. I was like, where is my sweet little cowboy?
Oh, yeah, it's
like,
a different,
totally
different dynamic.
I love seeing this, but I miss my sweet little cowboy. I miss him so much.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go back and read the other Thrawn books at some point, just so that I could get another taste of him.
He was an interesting addition, I will say.
No, but that's the good part about this book. I immediately thought Paleon. I'm saying Paleon.
Yeah, Paleon.
Sorry. Versus Eli. way different.
Oh, totally
Eli
different.
was more the I'm gonna live under fear. So that's the difference in these two,
Yeah.
these two characters is Eli lived in fear, lived in with that ulcer, and that was only Thrawn, right? And Paleon talks back, and that's why I like this guy, because I was like, there exactly, that's what it should be. That's
Yeah.
exactly that you should be able to talk back to, and if you still like feelings, this dude is really showing his feelings by talking back. And that's, oh man, I immediately was like, this should have been the other guy that
Yeah.
we read in the other book. The
It's
very
a
big difference.
different dynamic and it's a different Thrawn. You'll see that this is way more like
Right.
military
Right.
and imperial, ruthless genius, and that's why he pairs so well with Paleon in this. Whereas when in the new version, it's so Disneyfied, it's so feelings and cutesy, and that's the version of Thrawn you get that pairs with Eli. So it's a totally rewrite, different
A little,
Thrawn.
yes. I would say, okay, I agree and I disagree. Agree with most of that, but the disagree is that what Disney did right with the new version, or what Timothy did right with the new version, is that we saw Thrawn from where he was at as a savage to where he became once it hit once he became Grand Admiral. It took us the entire book to see that, but I see that with so many different other shows that, like, oh man, I waited the whole show to see him in the cape and I never saw him in the cape. Like, he didn't have the costume, they showed a shadow, right? And that's exactly what they did in that first book. But I think they went right about that. But I love this one where he's already the Thrawn I know, sort of, or what I'm supposed to know. uh, and it's already the strategic stuff, the art stuff is already in there. I was like, I didn't have to guess. And then, but a lot of the language in this book of Thrawn very different from the OG one too, as
Yeah.
well. So that's why I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Getting to know him all over again.
Mhm.
it's fun seeing the different version, and I think Paleon does have the fear, not fear of Thrawn, but fear of failing. He puts so much time into his career,
Yeah.
and that's why
Yeah, good way to put
I
it.
think he talks out of fear back to Thrawn, not out of respect or loyalty necessarily, but fear of his future, their future, fear of failing. I feel like he does get kind of scared by Thrawn. Like, I could kind of sense
Mhm.
that in the writing, not like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like wet myself every time I'm near him, but like some type of uncomfortableness and nervousness.
Yeah,
around him.
apprehension when he knows he has to talk to him.
And I really do like seeing that. And I love this dynamic and comparing it to Disney Thrawn and Eli. And it's just so much fun seeing like this partnership where it
Yeah.
is more out of fear and survival versus Thrawn and Eli, where you could tell Eli is afraid to do things in life, but I never felt like he was actually afraid of Thrawn. I feel like he was afraid of failing him. And to see the loyalty versus the survival type of dynamics is just very interesting. And that's why I love Eli so much, because it's the loyalty and the friendship.
I think that's exactly a good way to
Yeah.
describe it. And that's why
Exactly.
it threw me off so much when I read that book for the first time, because I was like, no, why is Thrawn so cuddly? And like, this yokel is like BFFs with him. Like, that is not Thrawn. Thrawn is supposed to be terrifying. That like 50-year veterans are scared to cross him. Like, Thrawn's supposed to be like really hardcore military, like top brass. You don't question him, and like scary. Like, how are we gonna deal with this guy? And like, he's just so like fun and nice and merciful, and
well, that's kind of what
like, it's a different guy.
It feels like, at least in Rebels and from the bits and pieces that I did read from the other new canon Thrawn books, is outsiders and military people that he hasn't worked closely with, like, they are still afraid, they're still like unsure, but there is that level of apprehension, versus like Eli will just tell him he's being stupid. And I love that because of the loyalty and the friendship. Because, yeah, you can't get far in that type of career by being best friends with everyone. But if you can at least let in a few people, I think that really, really benefits his career because by doing that, it shows, hey, he's not just some asshole that we need to blindly follow. If these people see something in him, then I can at least trust he could get the job done. I don't need to be his best friend, but I can at least trust him because these people do. And I really like seeing that with the Disney throne. So I'm excited to see how different it is with this throne.
Yeah.
I agree, and I want to go 10 more seconds with Paleon a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna close
Love
off
this
my
guy.
Eli. I think what I said about Eli before is I didn't like that version of him. I think when we ended off that book, I didn't like that he was too like he did have his wits to talk back. You're right now that I think about it, but it's not like Paleon's where Paleon, you're right. I'll agree with you. He operates in fear too, but because of that, wasn't he the one who was like, when the captain died from the ship, he's the one who took over, right?
I think so.
And so
That's
that's
how
why
that goes.
that's
Yeah.
why he became captain. So this is where this guy is very man, how do I want to say it? Initiative. He takes initiative, right?
Yeah.
So even though that he does have the fear, I like how he talks back by questioning his way out. Like it's like it's a talk back, but it's not in a form of a question, or like it's like he gives Thrawn a little bit of
a challenge.
Maybe he does give him there you go, great word, challenge to give to Thrawn. And I like him so far. But Eli, let's close the book on him until if we ever see him ever again. Rest in peace. Let's go.
I'm gonna cry.
We'll see him again.
If we see him again. I don't know.
I think Paleon snaps back, but Eli is sarcastic and witty, and I love someone who his version of snapping back is just being sarcastic. And I love it. Thrawn doesn't always understand it, and I'm like, oh boy.
It's very modern and it's very Disney Channel, which it has its appeal in certain ways, but I definitely relate more to Paleon. And kind of his version of fear is watching the world he knew crumble around him and not being able to maintain control.
That is
like he used
terrifying.
to, which is like if you were used to the state of things and that's what you based your life on and your career on, and there was a certain order and control to the galaxy, and now it's just disintegrating before your eyes and there's hardly anything you can do, but you're still just trying to cling on to that. Like, yeah, there's a level of panic that'll induce, and he's trying his best to maintain control in the midst of this and try to be a leader. So yeah, I definitely sympathize with him.
Great. I'm reading this book with Paleon and Eli at the bottom. Whole way through.
That's it. We're gonna bring the old and the new perspectives.
It's good.
All right,
it's
so
good.
Megan, you're officially Paleon. I'm officially Eli.
I'll own it. I love it.
All right. I'll just be Mrs. Vanto.
Do we get to talk about our New Republic heroes now?
Yeah, we can. So to kind of go into that, in one of the notes, I'm gonna bring up one of the notes because that's how I got this question. Because then I was like,
brilliant.
So Timothy's on in the section where he's writing C-3PO checking up on Luke. I thought it was kind of funny how I'm sorry, let me try to find it. So in the note, it says C-3PO always seems about 3 steps behind everyone else on pretty much everything. One of his many charms and a lot of fun to write.
Aww.
So what character, if you could write a character for any reason, but if that character was yours to write from everyone that we know, who would you want to write? Like, I'm genuinely curious because we always talk about different characters that we love, or even if we don't love them, we love how they're written. Who would you want to write for?
Interesting. You ask as the person who is the designated writer for the group. But I think a character that I haven't written, and almost because I'm too scared of not doing it justice, would be Luke, because just the complexity of where he came from, and then having to embrace this destiny and not want to let anybody down, and like not really have guidance. And especially the way that this chapter begins, where Ben is leaving, and he, so now you're kind of on your own, kid. You're trying to teach others, and you're like this larger than life hero, but you're still learning and trying to do things the right way. Just the pressure of that, and then being rocketed into this important position in this spotlight from such humble beginnings, and just like the turmoil that must be going on in his feelings, when feelings is the one thing you're supposed to be able to control. Like, just, I don't know, that's fascinating to me. It's so relatable. Like, I really want to use like writing therapy with a Luke character, because he's always been the one that I've identified with, which is why I love Star Wars as a child, because I was that kid in a small town that was looking out at the bigger world going, I want to have adventures. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in the big world going like, I'm going to die. Like, how do I keep up? Like, this is crazy. And then just like trying to keep up with the crazy world and like make your place in it. And it just was a fascinating dilemma that he's got. And he's just such a good person that would be amazing to explore.
So you would want to write Luke for the challenge?
I'd want to write Luke.
Damn.
What do you think, Ron?
I don't write.
But if you did.
But if I had to.
Whose head would you want to get into? R2D2.
I mean, obviously. No.
Obviously.
I don't talk droid. No, a lot of things you said I do agree with, and it kind of hit me, but I was like, yeah, you don't write though. In your way, it would have to be like some sort of Jedi. And if it was, I never read books in the time I was watching my VHS of the originals. You could go through any one of those, just like how you did. But now that there's such a more broader expansion of characters that I've got to know throughout the years, and still continue to learn more characters, I'm gonna go with Anakin Skywalker Jedi, just because of his journey.
Nice. Yeah.
And it's because, like, you were talking about feelings, and you're right. You should be able, like, control your feelings, but there's also that part where he couldn't do that, right?
Yeah.
And so where I would want to get into his head is learn the journey of this guy who became, who's that little boy we knew on Tatooine. Just watched episode 1, but and then all the way up to his death and what we may see beyond. And I hope they take care of this, because it's dangerous, right? You ended the Skywalker saga. You're in danger of what you don't take care of. All right. So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna hate whatever's coming out soon, but
I will.
You need to take care of it. Like, please take care of the characters we love. But okay, so I like the journey of Anakin Skywalker towards the dark side, and then coming out of that dark. Because
so you would want to write the journey?
Yeah, the journey, because, and get into his head, because like there's so much in that in between where he was so conflicted, and I think it's the conflict that I like, because I used to think that was me too. Like, or maybe other people who were fans of Anakin were the same when they found out that was the story. Like, man, like the pain and then overcoming that pain, right? Now there is a lot of emotion in that, but like there's so much to look at there, and it's like, I want to know, because if he got through it, I got through it, and other people would have got through it.
Yeah, that'd be fun to dive into.
That'd be amazing to read more up on.
Yeah.
2 Jedi so far.
So for me, I was kind of having trouble picking because there's 3 characters that
Oh, give us
always come to
top
mind.
3.
Oh yeah.
I like this.
All right, when I'm done with my top 3, if you guys have any other 2 to add to your list, I want to hear them.
No, I'm good.
So the first one that I would want to write about is ARC Trooper 5's, just
Okay.
because I adore his character so much, guys. His armor is my phone background, and my
Simp.
computer background changes every like 30 seconds, and 20 of them are like 5s, and then 15 are
Believe that.
wedge. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, I simp. I need to add some thrown ones in there, but I would want to write 5s because in the Clone Wars, even though he's only in such a handful of episodes, you can see from when we meet him up until his last episodes, just the struggle of loyalty and duty as a soldier. And then you put that with the loyalty and duty to his brothers. How he's like, guys, we are more than just our numbers. We are more than just, cannon fodder, pawns in their games. And I just love that conflict because I feel like he's one of the very few clones that you actually get to see that with. And I feel like it's a shame that they didn't touch more on that.
Well, that's why we'll read Republic Commando.
Yes.
Is he in Republic Commando?
No, but that's a huge theme.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Kind of. It's
clones.
just different. It's
Not
just
the
different
same.
characters. That's it. But
Just not the same.
especially like the Umbara arc in the Clone Wars hit me so hard because of Five's character and how he's telling them like we don't have to just keep dying senselessly. We can still be loyal to the Republic, but still, maintain that we are people. And so I would love to write more about Fives and just that conflict because it's such a deep thing. It was very deep for me to watch, and I was like, if I could, I would write that.
Yeah, explore that.
I would love to explore more of that. The second person would be Alexander Callis from Rebels. I love Mutton Chop Man. Bless his character because he starts out as this like very hardcore by the book agent for the Empire, but then little bit by little bit you get to see some more of his transition from I have to do this duty, I have to serve the Empire, to what if there is more than this fear? What if there is more than just this? What if there is friendship and family to be made? And so I would love to write his character in that transition. I think it would be very fascinating. I think it'd be interesting to explore more on that because I like the way he questions both sides, not just one. He questions them both, like the pros and cons and everything. So for me, I really like that about his character, and I would love to write it. And the third one is Eli.
I knew he was going to be in there somewhere.
I love him so much.
He's not that complex, though. What in the world would you write about?
He's not that complex because Timothy Zahn didn't write too much about him. But I would want to write, because you know how you said you related to Luke. I relate to Eli, where, we have this set path for our life in mind, but then things keep changing it, and we have to figure out: are we going to try to go back to we had to do, or are we going to find something for ourselves? And so that's something I would want to write about. I would want to write for him the thought process, the transition, and him, he agreed because he was like, you know what, I could be more than just some soldier here. I can go be beneficial somewhere else. I can make a new path for myself. And that's something that I like that like Thrawn would point out for him. And he would talk about like in his little introductions. And then you could kind of see it with Eli in the book, not too much because, they couldn't spend too much time writing about it. So I would love to be the one to write an Eli book about the thought process and the transition, the fears, the excitement, all of that. So for all 3 of these, it's just like transitions and complex thought processes that I want to write.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So those are my top 3.
Very cool.
Do you guys have any others that you would want to write for?
One thing I always wanted to write was Obi-Wan, and
Danger.
but the problem is I always wanted to write like his solitude, like the deep character study of him just having suffered this life-altering defeat and being kind of banished off into exile and having to just sit there alone in the desert with your own thoughts and just haunted by everything that had just happened and the memories, and knowing that the way you've been trained to live your life, you can't do anymore because now it's dangerous. So you have to completely relearn how to execute life and how to interact with other people and hide who you are. Like, it's such a fascinating and tragic situation that just to like get into his head and like hit the process of him having to go through life and like not do what his instinct would normally be to do, and how does he deal with that, and just like the years of him learning to live as a hermit was always so fascinating to me. But now Disney's going to take it and ruin it, so I've lost interest.
She went there. I
mean,
thought you weren't gonna
it's
go
still
there.
cool.
Sorry, I'm Meg the hater. I got to.
Well,
But
you
it's
know,
still
I mean,
cool, like,
you know.
that you want to write that and that you want to get into like that process. That is like a very important time. And
Yeah, hugely. He's
Yeah.
my favorite character by
we
far.
could pretend that they're not doing the show.
Yeah, and
Well-
I could do what I've done before and be like, okay, I'm going to write an alternate version and we'll see whose is
Yeah.
better.
I mean, you got to do it faster than they do it. But yeah, I will agree. You have to take care of it first. But at the same time, when you were saying all that, I was like, all these painful episodes. I have not watched Revenge of the Sith because of that, because there's too many painful images of him like crying there. And that is what I kind of want to leave it with, when you already know what happens to him in, episode 4. I don't like these in betweens, because even him has to be, I mean, even Ewan has to be careful with how he treats this, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what he did when he didn't want to, let Alec Guinness down. But will you do that now and still continue to do that? And hopefully he has that mentality to still keep it that way.
Well,
Hopefully.
I don't think he has a lot of control over it. Disney's
I'm
going to turn this
hopeful.
into an action
I'm-
show, and there's going to be a bunch of fights, and they've got
Well,
inquisitors, and they're hunting. Like,
he-
it's just going to be your stock standard one action scene per episode kind of thing.
Well,
And it's not going to
okay.
be this internal struggle character reflecting. Like, maybe in parts it will.
You can't.
They have to
You
in
can't.
parts, but it
So-
can't be the whole series, which is what I would have wanted in a writing perspective.
If you want to do the trailer, we'll do that in another episode. But dude, there's too much to say now. Like, we'll go down a rabbit hole.
I know
about
we're
this,
so
but
off on a tangent.
So
now.
away from
Let's
the
go,
show,
let's
away
go,
from
come
talking
back,
about
come
the
back.
show, you
Stay
would
on
want to
target.
write about his time in solitude, his time.
Yeah, just exploring his thoughts and his feelings, and him having to relearn how to live and interact.
Mhm.
I think along the lines of the note you read from Timothy Zahn saying, like, I never realized C-3PO would be so much fun to write. Like, I also write like Marvel stories, and there were characters that I was like, oh, I don't even know if I could write this person. And then as soon as I started trying to like get in their head and write things the way they would say it and how they would react to certain things, I found that Doctor Strange is so much fun to write. Like, you wouldn't think, but like whenever I put him in a scene, I'm just like, oh yeah, what's he gonna do? Like, he's so much fun to write. And the Guardians of the Galaxy are very fun to write too, for some reason. Like, I always thought it would be hard, but like as soon as you're like tuned in just right, a blast. So I bet
Nice.
if I ever put C-3PO in a story, like, it would probably be fun to write. R2-D2 too, like, no lie, like, that would be fun. Like, I put BB-8 in a lot of our stories, and he's really fun to write too.
Can we get CB23 in there too as well?
Why not?
We should. Okay,
We should.
stay on target. Let's go.
Is there anyone
right.
else that you would write, Ronald, or just?
Man, I was just gonna be like, I know they're gonna try to ask me, and no, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
But one
if
did cross
there's
my
no one
mind. I
else,
was like,
it's
what about
okay.
Han.
Padme? No, Padme.
Padme.
I do like Han.
Oh.
I don't know if like if it were Han, it would always be me going back to like what I know about Han, and then kind of like me just joining him kind of thing. But if it would, I was like, what about Padme? Like somebody who again has to go from what we already know. Like I didn't know that about her till we read that book. How, and then watching episode 1, like how did you get to that point where you were like saying like I will not something that will lead us to war? I was like, that's very different from the language in the book, and then her language like just throughout that book. And I said, man, that's again, I'm more of like, I don't know, maybe you guys are doing it too, like I relate to the character, then I feel like that's the best you can write because that's the one you relate to. I don't know.
No, it's more interesting to explore one that you really can relate to certain situations or feelings.
But Padme would be an interesting one.
You know what would be fun? I would love, I don't know how it would be executed, but to read a book where like, it switches off point of view. So you got Anakin's point of view and then Padme's point of view. And it would be like for around the same time.
Like and the same scene, but from their different perspectives.
And then after he kills her, you would see the transition of him becoming Vader. And just like we read in Death Star, sometimes he would think about her and Obi-Wan. So after, when it becomes more silent, because now you only got one point of view, to see that transition, how he goes from Anakin to Vader, especially once that other voice is silenced. That would be cool.
Again, the episode 3 pictures are coming back. That's
no, don't remind him. He doesn't like that one.
No, I love those ones. It's just those are the ones that always hit hard when you watch them.
Yeah, they do.
Always. All right, let's go.
Hot chocolate.
Yes.
So actually, my last question was about like this Thrawn versus the Thrawn that we know, but we already covered that
a little bit.
So it's we've already been going on for a while. If you guys want one more question, I could come up with another question. I do have another question. If not, we could end it like this.
Just hit the bonus question.
Well, I just wanted to ask Jasmine, how hard did you scream when Wedge popped up being a goofball?
Guys,
worst wingman.
It was 4 a.m. I have my ambiance in. My boyfriend's sitting on the couch watching TV. He put in his headphones because he didn't want to disrupt me.
Zen, peace,
but through his headphones, he could hear me scream, and he took off his headphones. He's like, "What?" And I was like, "Which?" And he's like, "Oh my god." I could see it in his head. He's like, "What did I get into?" But yeah, no, I screamed in my notes, all uppercase. It says, "Wedge Antilles."
I loved his little cameo and like just what a doofus he is. He's
so goofy,
so obvious, but it was part of the plan because the other guy was actually the spy hanging in there. I loved Han's perspective. Like nobody trusts him now because he's a respectable guy, but he's still trying to keep his contacts. And like that whole struggle within him of like, no, he knows what he needs to do now. He's a family man. He's respectable. He works in the government, but he still knows this world and he's still trying to keep touch with them. I love Talon Card. Like, wait till you get to know him. He's such a great character. Mara Jade is here now. Mon Mothma, definitely like the description of her and the pressure and the stress that she's under trying to establish this new government, and then Akbar versus Phalia, again, this whole Bothan situation. So I'm like, it's everything that up. Just like we remember from the X-Wing
I'm glad
series.
You raised that up. I'm gonna cut you off really quick on the Bothans. We're not gonna let them get away. Bothans, blame it on the Bothans. I have said it from book after book, and it came out clear. Thank you, Timothy Zahn, for clarifying that I was correct the whole time.
That's right.
You cannot trust these aliens. They even tried to claim that they were the ones who were, that dude, we won Endor, the rebellions won Endor. Yes, they are part of the, but you cannot, like, it was your fault that you accepted plans from the emperor himself and caused this whole destruction.
Blame
And
it
this is why
on
we're
the
blame it on the
Boffins.
Bothans.
Yep. Hashtag blame
But
it
they're
on the
not getting
Boffins,
away.
y'all.
Not gonna get away.
I
Can I
love
just
this
say-
dynamic. I love it.
When he, where the heck is it? So when Dravis, whatever his name is,
Yeah.
goes to meet Han, he said, "Sure." Dravis said with a grin. As soon as you and Chewie both put your hands on the table, Timothy Zahn put a note that said, "The lesson of Greedo's carelessness
Yep.
is apparently still remembered in these parts." And I was like, "Shoot, you're right."
As it would be. Like, I really love the thought he puts into the world building and the dynamic between characters and the interactions and everything. I love the introduction of Winter, and she's such a great character. And now all I think of is her and Tycho. I'm like,
Oh, I'm so excited
so
for that.
yeah, that and Leia is here and back in character, and Luke, like, and then ending chapter 5 on them being assigned to a mission together. The big three.
He has a note about that. Or no, actually the editor does. Betsy has a little note about that.
Saying we did what Disney couldn't.
So when
Brought
it
the
says
big three
just
back
exactly
together.
like old times, Betsy, the editor, said, "Just exactly like old times perfectly calls to mind various scenes in the original Star Wars. Luke practicing his newfound force abilities, Chewie and R2-D2 playing Dejarik, Han and Leia snipping at each other. Therefore, there's no need to spell out what occurs between the end of this chapter and the beginning of chapter 6. Tim simply announces that the Falcon has arrived."
Yep.
So just by that one line, he just brings back so much nostalgia and memory.
You know
and it's-
exactly how to picture it.
Bless. I love these notes so much. And then it does talk a little bit more about the notes, like with Mon Mothma and the Bothans. I was like, okay, this is like really, I don't know if you guys want to hear that. I can read it real quick.
Yeah. The Bothan drama. Let's hear it.
This one's kind of a long note. This dude took up this part.
Wow.
Yeah, his
summary
notes can
form.
get pretty long. But yeah, so
Uh-oh. Did Jasmine freeze? Or is it me?
Approach. Am I back?
Yeah. Yeah, better now.
Okay, sorry. So he said, even beyond that, I wanted to show the New Republic as being a somewhat uneasy patchwork of differing political views, motivations, and goals. We have this conflict that any group of humans any size, surely among different types of aliens, the effect would be even more pronounced. So again, failure. For all the frustration and trouble he causes, he's not a villain in the usual sense. He and his people simply have different ways of achieving their political goals. The fact that his approach causes chaos and possible destruction is apparently never a concern to him. The way Bothans have always done things, and he and they see no reason to change.
I love it. I think it's so much more believable, and it's such a richer world that he builds here, where it is like this kind of struggle to establish this government. And it's not like the sequels where it's like, oh no, it's the New Republic and they're fine and this is how they are. And then, oh, well, the freaking First Order blew up the Capitol, so now they're in charge of the galaxy, and everything's just, that's how it is in one day. And then somebody else blows them up and now they're in charge. Like, now these things are a little more complicated and way more believable. And then to see the stress that it's putting on the good guys that fight with each other, like, yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, the rebellion is struggling, and their biggest struggle in this is not that they haven't seen each other or people have gone their ways, 5 years later. On the struggle here, and I can't remember who said it to somebody, that I think it was who was the Jarvis?
Dravis?
Travis.
The smuggler?
The smuggler was the one who said, well, now that there is half of your smugglers may want to join and may want to just keep doing what they're doing, like business as usual. But the struggle for the rebellion is are we the new empire?
Right. How do we do
Because
things
in
differently?
Eve, they even said it. They don't have the resources the empire have. Like now, the galaxy can run wild from all your Huts and gangsters, your smugglers, your
Yep.
pirates out there. Like now they can run the galaxy if there's nothing in order. There's no more order now, right? And it seems like what I like about this is that the galaxy is split,
Yeah.
but then this is like the rebellion's chance. You have a chance here to do it right, and
Well, it's
when you
like
do it right.
it's like they said, they need to prove themselves at this
Yeah.
point to get people on board, because like you're still having these battles like over Sky where they wiped out, you
Mhm.
know, a whole bunch of your dudes. So like it's the war's not over. Like yeah, it's mostly over, but it's there's still lingering pockets of it. And there's worlds that are watching that going, do we just immediately pledge our allegiance to this new republic? Are they going to be able to keep us safe from this imperial governor that still thinks he runs our sector? Like, I don't know. So it is still a
Yeah, good
complicated
questions.
time. And the smugglers can take total advantage of that and play both sides.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting time in the galaxy, and he's exploring it just right with all the right dynamics and the different characters that he's throwing in. Can't wait to get to know more of Mara's backstory. This new Dark Jedi clone, wacko crazy guy, like he cray, and it's amazing. It's fun. I loved how he treated the Force Ghost with Ben Kenobi, saying like, I've lingered too long, I really have to go. Like that there is a finite limit to Force Ghost ability to hang around and what they can do. Disney take notes. They don't freaking call lightning and hang out and talk to people forever. Like they do have to like merge at some point and go to the beyond. Like they're not omnipotent. Like yeah. So I just thought he treated that just right.
To go back to that, how did you two both cope with that? Because for me, that was a way too early. I must have felt like Luke while reading that, and I was just like, I know if I were Luke, and Luke, what Luke should also know is that he needs to move on from like old Ben cannot have your back when you're in trouble all the time. Right?
Yeah, but that's the perfect dilemma to put Luke in at this point. In that, you know, he had that safety blanket that's like, well, if things get really bad, maybe I can just call on Ben to help. And now, like, he's on his own, and Leia's sensing this turmoil in him, this depression that like, I've got to figure this out. And like, here he is, like living in the Imperial Palace that has such a dark side remnant in it, and something that can affect him and not other people, and he's having to deal with that, and he's just lost for good his mentor again, and he's got this pressure on him, and it's just, you know, I'm going through like a really anxiety time right now too, so reading him in that moment, I was like, oh, I feel it, like this pressure, and like thinking like I'm on my own, got to figure this out. And like, it's, I think a lot of people can relate to that. And to spell it out in that way of him having to, again, let go of the mentor, the older, wiser person that he could count on, and now really truly feel alone. And yet with this responsibility of having to be a leader, and he's training his sister, who's now dependent on him and her unborn children, and who he can already tell are going to be powerful in the Force. So the pressure's on. Like, you better figure this out, Luke, because you don't want this to go bad again. And it's up to you. You're the only one that can teach anybody now, because stinking Ahsoka didn't exist. Thank goodness.
Hold on. Whoa. That's a totally different. That's a totally different path that we know of. I get it.
He is the last Jedi.
Take a deep breath.
World.
Take a deep breath.
Not the last Jedi. What did he say?
Take a deep breath. He did say he was the last Jedi, right?
The new Jedi.
The first of the new.
I thought he
Ben
did say he
said,
was the last
"You
Jedi.
are
Though.
the." He said, "You're not the last Jedi." He
Oh.
said, "You're the last."
When
He
said
was
it to
trying to
himself?
change his perspective on it.
There you go. That's
Not
good.
the last, but the first of the new. But it's a different kind of pressure still.
Oh yeah, he said, "Not the last of the old Jedi, Luke. The first of the new."
Yeah, so he was trying to be helpful.
And then
Thanks.
that's when
Thanks,
Timothy
Ben.
Zahn made a note that said, "One of the parameters I wanted to set out for the trilogy was that Luke would be entirely on his own as a Jedi,
Yeah.
with no one he could call on for help or advice."
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, at that time, being the first and new Jedi nicely set up Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy, and he didn't realize that he was going to do that. But I mean, it is true. He's not the last Jedi. He's just the first of the new. But that's up to Luke to figure out, what does that mean? What happens with these new Jedi?
Exactly. What does that mean? How do I do things differently? How do I do things better to not make the same mistakes as they made before? So it's a really interesting situation that he's found himself in at the beginning of the book right away. Ben's gone now. And, here he is having to start the new Jedi, starting with his sister, like somebody he actually is invested in, somebody he cares about. Like, don't go wrong. Your family is counting on you now. Yeah. And beyond that, yes, we get into Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Academy series, which is great because it's everything that we wanted. Like Luke teaching new young Jedi and the issues they have to deal with and the issues he has to deal with as a teacher. Like it's brilliant. But eventually, he gets
No
Mara.
spoilers here. There's people
Everybody
who
knows
have
it's
not
been like 30 years.
No.
Oh my gosh.
At this point, spoilers aren't a
Hey,
thing.
there is
It's been out for
spoilers.
that long.
I wish you guys had not said that. That's fine. I'm gonna let it go because I was gonna say to this part, we're solving. Come on, one book at a time. We're solving this one, and honestly, Luke breaks the cycle, but we already know he does with another series. What you got, guys?
But yeah, I do think a very poignant thing. What ending on chapter 5, where it said, just like old times, the gang is back together. The three coming back together. I was like, that's the perfect way for sexy Wookiees to get back together and start a new book together, just like old times. The three joining up on a new mission. Hopefully it goes well. We'll see if it goes well for Han, Luke, and Leia. We'll see.
Han. At this point, I'm only worried about Han.
I don't know. You got poor Han, who's just out of his
that is
league in this.
Take it like what I love about this is they didn't go jump from what we know. We didn't jump from episode 6 to episode 7 here. Exactly. We are really gonna test this person like a character. I am wearing this because of Endor Han. Dude, you're taking a man out of his element and putting him in a different element.
Completely different.
That is like, whoa.
Now he's gonna be a dad.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wife is in the government. Like, that's the great thing. Within 5 chapters, these characters that we know and love so well are all struggling with something new. And we really want to see how they deal with it. And it's each one of them, it's a different thing. But here they are getting thrust back into an adventure together again, now with a whole new set of problems on their plate. And it's just, I love to be back on the Falcon with them, back, exploring the galaxy with them on a mission. And I can't wait to see what happens next. What are the next chapters we're reading?
Next chapters are 6 through 10.
Chapters 6 through 10 next. So yeah, we'll see how this mission goes. And why does Mara Jade hate Luke Skywalker so much?
I can't wait for
that. Talon wants to know. I want to know.
I didn't even want to ask. I didn't want to ask.
Ronald wants to know. We know.
Sometime.
We'll see. All right, so we got our assignment 6 through 10 for next week. I suppose that could be it. In the meantime, check us out on all our channels, Instagram, YouTube, maybe Twitch, who knows, and everywhere else that you can
did you do that,
have
Jonah
fun and see
Hill?
what's up.
We're slowly getting back into. We had to take a break. We were on
No,
a
life
mission.
happened.
Yeah, we were on a mission. We
No,
didn't
life
really
is
have
still
access to
happening.
this.
And it's
As we
still
do
happening.
this, life is still happening. We're still going on it. We're doing both at a time. So yes, buckle up, because we're back. We're not that, if you've watched anything and if you've not learned anything from 49 episodes ago, you better learn now, because there's not going to be the whole like life lesson kind of thing. We're hitting life like, in a different way. So,
Sexy
if you
Wookiees
feel
always have
alone,
life lessons.
you're just remember, you're not alone. There's more of us than them.
That's how they win, by making you feel you're alone.
Yeah.
There's more of us. So I hope all of you will join us next week. Read this book. Please, all of you, catch up. Start reading Heir to the Empire with us. Timothy Zahn. If you can get your hands on that anniversary edition, which I'm going to try to do, because that sounds fascinating.
OG cover. OG cover.
Or the OG cover.
with the legend. Oh, well,
with the with the legend stripe. If you're gonna go OG cover, do it without the legends. Boo. Nice bookmark. What?
Yes.
Get that out of there. It's gonna catch on fire. Anyway, join us next week on Sexy Wookiee Squadron Book Club. But for this week, Sexy Wookiee signing out.